Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Great Masters,
Great Masters,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Sri Yukteswar,
Swami Sri Yukteswar,
beloved Guru,
beloved Guru,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
humbly we bow at your feet.
humbly we bow at your feet.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
beloved Gurus,
beloved Gurus,
be with us here today,
be with us here today,
in our hearts and minds,
in our hearts and minds,
guiding our very thoughts,
guiding our very
guiding
thoughts,
our every movement,
guiding our every movement,
leading us home to Thee.
leading us home to Thee.
Take us deep within ourselves today,
Take us deep within ourselves today,
to where we can commune with You always.
to where we can commune with You always.
We are Your children.
We are Your children.
We long only for You.
We long only for You.
Come to us.
Come to us.
Om peace. Amen. Let's take this chant into our meditation.
In my soul, I will gather
can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend.
I want to briefly introduce our dear friends. We all are very informal, we all know each other. But you remember that our guru said that when I'm gone, only love can take my place. And love, Master said, is expressed through, in daily life, through kindness. And Swamiji talked about in his life and after he would leave the body that the legacy of Ananda would come through kindness. And you really feel that sense of attunement with our line of gurus and with Swamiji's life of discipleship through Narayani and Shurjo. It's through that simple, Swami gave us that direction of tuning into vibrations and attunement, and they really carry that sense of loving kindness and the spontaneous joy of the soul. In fact, there's a beautiful story in Narayani's book where Swamiji said to her at one point, promise me you'll never lose that, your spontaneous nature, your spontaneous joy, that spontaneous kindness of the heart. And we're so deeply grateful that you both have taken time to be with us and to share from your heart Swamiji's heart with us. Thank you.
I'm going to share it too. Because I was deeply inspired this morning. I was blessed with a dream of Swamiji, and I feel that it specifically came because this past week we were in the desert with Narayani and Shurjo, and during that time I was like, I have a few days, I can read her book. So I read her book just in those 2 days, and it's an easy read. It takes me a long time to read books, so if I can read it that quickly, anyone can. It's such a beautiful, and Narayani would say, a simple book. And it is simple in the sense of it just goes straight to your heart. There's no intellectual, difficult battle you're doing to try to understand these deep, esoteric truths. It's just all heart. It's all about love. It's all about devotion and offering that devotion at the feet of the Guru. So this dream was with Swamiji last night, and I was there training a young man to be Swamiji's assistant. And Swami was very regal, very refined, and this young man was very afraid to be in Swamiji's presence and to, I can't go into his bedroom, can I? I'm like, but he needs his bedroom cleaned up. You have to go in, just go in quietly and sensitively and get his clothes and fix things up, but what I realized was in that dream, I was the young man, and Narayani was sharing with me, training me how to serve Swamiji in that sensitive and conscious and loving way, that it's just about giving and sharing. And that's really what her book is about, is serving the Guru sensitively with with just the thought of what can I give, not what can I get back in return. So we're very grateful to both of them for the life and God that they share with us.
It's so interesting because we first published the book in India, and it was like such a special time of our lives because somehow we had something to offer back of so much that Swami has given to each one of us individually and as a group, but especially for some of us, someone like myself who had the blessing and the good karma, yes, to be close to him. Finally, I felt I had something worth giving back to, not only to him, but to everyone. And it was a very special moment doing the book launch in India, but for some reason, today, I feel like a special blessing. I feel it in my heart. India was very dear to Swamiji, as many of you know. He moved to India the last few years of his life to make his guru known in India, because most of his time, Paramahansa Yogananda came here to establish his work. But today, I feel such an honor, so much reverence to speak about one of the greatest disciples that Yogananda had. And I don't know if I'm worthy of it, but to speak about him in Los Angeles, where his guru lived and infused Swami Kriyananda with the consciousness that later on helped him to build such a work as Ananda. I was here when Swami Kriyananda felt he wanted to move to Los Angeles. He felt that call, I need to go there, I need to establish a work there. And he didn't come here for any of us. He came here for each one of you because he knew you were going to come. And you needed to get that contact with him. He sent Narayani and Dharma Devi, and thanks to that, his presence is felt here. I'm sure each one of you have that personal contact, sacred interaction with him. I'm just going to start just sharing how this precious little book happened. It was towards the end of his life, and as you may know, he was getting at an age where he needed constant help. His balance also wasn't very good, so he needed help for almost 24 hours, like a person to be around him and helping him basically with almost every basic need. One of them was even trimming his beard, because sometimes he just, he would lose the balance. It was dangerous for him to be in the bathroom by himself if he would, sleep or, So anyway, he needed someone to trim his beard. So that was like, I was so happy to do that. So once a month, I would just trim his beard, make him just shiny and clean and everything, just cut. So I remember one morning, I was just shaving his beard. And I was just having my own thoughts, I don't know what, but I was just thinking, why shaving his beard? And at some point, Swamiji takes my wrist like this. The machine was still going on. And Swamiji asked me, are you going to write a book? about me. And I asked, well, Swami, can you hear my English? You know how English is not my first language. I have never written anything, and a book about you, I don't know, Swami, is like a big thing. And as if he didn't hear anything, I was talking to him like from one ear came from the other left. He looked at me straight and very seriously. He replied, is it going to be a biography or memories about myself? Then I understood that he was planting a seed. So then I replied back with the same energy. And I said, well, Swamiji, if ever I need to write a book about you, I think it will be easier, a book about my memories, my time with you. And again I said, but Swamiji, I don't know about the English, English is not my... And then he said, don't worry about that. I'll help you. Don't worry. And I thought, okay, he will help me. 3 weeks after he passed away, he didn't tell me how he was going to help me, through whom he was going to help me, when he will help me, nothing. Just, I will help you. Those are the only words he left me with. So then he passed away, and I knew on the back of my mind I will need to write that book. It will be just a matter of time. A few years after his passing, they were not very easy for me because I miss him, I had the nostalgia, I missed his presence. And I thought, I cannot write a book about him from that place. If I really need to write about him, I need to feel him with me all the time. I don't want to write anything from a point of nostalgia. So Shurjo and I felt that it would be good for us to take some time off and just digest the whole process of what it was, how it was to live with Swamiji, to digest many things that we went through, start thinking about it, and then eventually I will have the time to fully dedicate to this book and to write it. So we took a year of seclusion, a year off, with the intention of writing this book. So when I decided to start writing, I felt I was not ready yet. I was still missing him. I will find myself, I will start writing and I will cry. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not yet ready and I feel I should do it right now. So I remember in that period of seclusion, I sat one evening in meditation and I told to Swami, I'm ready to be healed. You know what is in my heart. You know the sorrow that I still have. You know the pain I still have. But I'm ready to get healed. I'm ready to get rid of this pain in my heart. And you have to do it. I have tried my best and it doesn't work. Now you have to do it. And I told him, I'm not going to stand up from this meditation until you come to me and you take this pain away. So I sat in meditation and I started meditating 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Suddenly, I felt like a wave of energy. Literally, I felt it was Swamiji. He came, that energy came up, stopped in my heart, did whatever that energy had to do, and it lifted up. I felt for the first time in 4 years, I felt free. then I thought, I'm ready now to write this book. I knew I was ready. So I went to Shurjo right away. Shurjo, be ready because I'm ready. So that day, I started writing everything. I had already written a few things, but that was the moment when I felt like, so I started writing. I could feel like so many stories that I had no idea that they were there in the back of my mind. They started coming and pouring down, and the right lesson and the right subtlety that I forgot suddenly became like crystal clear. So I wrote the whole book, and I literally felt every single story. It reflects exactly Swamiji's consciousness. When I finished the book, one morning I sat to meditate and I hear the voice or the message or the intuition, or I don't know how to say it, like, go to the book and check this story because it is not well written. The story is the exact story that Narayani was saying. At some point, the story goes like this. We are together, Swami and I, alone in silence, and he asked me, Narayani, promise me something. Promise me what he's going to ask me. Promise me. And I say, yes, Swamiji, tell me. And he said, promise me that you will never let anyone to kill your spirit. And that was a big promise because I know myself and I don't know if I'm always going to be strong. I'm always not going to let anyone to kill my spirit. It's a very difficult promise to promise. So I had to be honest and I replied, I'll try, Swamiji. And he answered very seriously, good. That was all. So I wrote that story just like that. So in meditation, go to that story in your computer because it's not well written. There is a mistake. So I finish my meditation, I open the computer, I go through to that story, I read. Never kill your spirit, good. It's just exactly as he said. I don't know what's wrong. So anyway, I let it be. In the evening meditation, again, this voice comes. Go and check the story. It's not well written. There is a mistake there. I finish my meditation. I go again. I read the story line by line. It's just Swami Guru. It's how she told me. It's just exactly as I remember. So I let it be. The next morning in meditation, again, the thought came. Please go and check because the mistake is an exclamation mark. I went to the story, I read the whole story, and I see that when Swami answers to me, when I tell him, I try, never let anyone to kill my spirit, he replies, good. But I had an exclamation mark after good, which meant that Swamiji was saying with that exclamation mark, good. It's not a big thing, good. But what he really meant is good. There was a seriousness. So that exclamation mark was giving the wrong consciousness because it wasn't a light statement. It was very serious. And that exclamation mark had to be removed. And I felt touched by the way I felt guided to make sure that the vibration with which each answer he gave to each one of us, to us, was exactly in the way he meant for us to understand. And I have realized that after his passing, that's the way how I need to keep listening for his guidance. Because he's still guiding each one of us. He's still whispering, remove that, add this little dot doesn't go there, that little thing is wrong, just change it, adjust it. And that's very important for me to understand that my way right now of attuning with Swami Kriyananda, even with my own guru, is a process of keep listening, because he's guiding us every single step. Many people have told me, and I think you, Fatima, was telling me yesterday, you were so lucky that you were with Swami Kriyananda, what a privilege. And yes, it's true. I felt extremely lucky, and it's a privilege. And yes, it was also a personal karma. I had to be with him, some of us, is why we come together as family, as couples, and mother and son. There is a personal karma that needs to play out in this lifetime. And for some reason, it had to come in the form of my spiritual teacher and me as his personal assistant. It had to play out like that. But I have to tell you, it wasn't easy at all. Because being around of a person who has such a refined consciousness, to which his level of energy is so high, is not easy to maintain. It's just constantly raising the bar. And sometimes, honestly, for me it was exhausting. Yes, there was so much grace that will sustain that process. There is a grace that comes into the picture when you are a mother. Energy comes to you. Where is that energy comes from? There is a grace that supports to the process. But it's tiring because, as Dharma Devi was saying, it requires a constantly give yourself to the divine, in this case, in the form of Swami Kriyananda. And there was very little time to yourself. I remember one of the stories that I have shared, and I will share it again. One morning, I remember it was one of the most busiest periods of Swami's life. I remember he was working on a movie. We were in Italy, Assisi. He was working on the movie. He was giving satsangs. He was giving interviews. People will come and wanted to speak with him. In addition, it was a period where he had insomnia. So not only he was very busy during the day, then at night he wasn't able to sleep, which meant I wasn't able to sleep either. So you could see me in the morning, I will come to serve him. I did my best, but there were some mornings that it was very tough because I would sleep 1 or 2, sometimes 3 hours. That was all I would get. So I remember this morning where the alarm rang, so I stopped and I felt, I can't anymore. This is like too much. I'm so tired. But somehow I got dressed and I thought, okay, I'm just going up. So I went up to Swami's, just like, I'm so tired, going up the stairs, and to help him to get dressed. So when I'm about to enter into his bedroom, I start sneezing. Achoo! Achoo! And the thought came to me. I'm not feeling very proud about this, but I had this thought, like, oh my God, I'm sneezing. That means that I may get in a cold. So if I get a cold, That means that I can't be around Swami because I will get sick. So I need to go back to bed. I need to go back to my bedroom. So I was just like sneezing and just delighted myself in the thought of it in front of Swami, like on my third sneeze, like chill, like so exaggerated, so Swami could see that I'm really getting sick. He saw me, really, he saw my energy, he saw my way of thinking, he saw in what I was giving in, and he told me so seriously and so strongly, can't you use your willpower? I was like paralyzed because I knew he was working with my energy. He caught my energy and he was trying to answer to that energy, and I replied, Swami, yes, I will. And then he said, very good. And more sweetly, he said, the power of the mind can overcome anything. What he was trying to tell me was, don't let your negative thoughts influence your energy. And especially, watch out for the thoughts, I can't, I don't want to, I need these. That's the kind of energy that required being around Swamiji. And it wasn't easy. But then what he was trying to do for us is bring us to our highest potential. I remember also towards the end of his life, I think it was Naya Swami, Asha, Shurjo, and myself. We were in Pune and we were reading one of the last books that Swamiji was working on. And he just finished. So he wanted for the three of us to read it just to make sure that there was no mistakes, what we felt about it. So we were reading, and I remember Asha, Shurjo, and Swamiji will read like so fast. They had like a pile of pages. So their pages were going down, 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 and they were giving me the pages. My pages were going up and up. So I'm a slow reader, and in addition, when I need to read English, it just takes me a little longer. So we started to read, I think it was 9:30, so by 11:30, they finished. And I was still had a few pages. So they left, and Swami and myself were alone in his living room. So he was waiting for me to finish those pages. So I told Swamiji, look at what I have here. I think it's better if I help you to go to bed, I get you ready, you go to sleep, and then I'll finish myself reading these pages. So he said, okay, but make sure that you finish because I want to know what you think about it. I said, okay, so I helped him, I put him to bed, I closed the door, and in his bedroom, from his bedroom to the living room, the door has like a little glass window where you can see the light through. So even though he was in his bedroom, he could see if the living room through the light was on or off. So I was sitting reading the pages and I thought, I'm going to wait just for 10 minutes so he can really go to sleep, he can get sleepy. Then I'll switch off the lights and I will go, and then next day I will read it early in the morning, and then if he asks me, I will just have something to say. So I read a little bit, and after a few pages, like 10, 15 minutes, I didn't hear any noise in his bedroom, so I thought, he's sleeping. So I took the pages and just very slowly, I switch off the light, and I'm about to come out of the living room and I hear, Narayani! And I went and said, yes, Swami, did you finish to read the pages? And I said, Swami, no, I have not finished, but I'll finish in the morning. He said, please go and finish now. I'm not going to sleep. until I receive an email from you or until I hear what you think about these pages. So I say, okay, Swamiji, I go to my apartment and I will read it there, and whenever I finish, I will write you. Okay. So I went to our apartment and I started reading. Finally, I finished to read. I think it was 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I don't remember, but it was very late at night. So when I finished, I went to my computer and I wrote Swamiji. I said, Swami, I just finished to read the pages. It's wonderful. I love it. Thank you so much. It just felt so inspired. I just wrote like 1-2 lines. I closed the computer, went to the bathroom, and then I went to bed. So when I was going into the bed, I see my phone like a light. 4 a.m., 3 a.m., who is writing now? So I just went and I see an inbox in my mail, Swami Kriyananda. So I go there, I open the email, and that was Swami's reply. And he replied, I'm so glad that you finished the pages, you finished the book. It was very important for you to do so. And then he wrote, a sinner, a saint is a sinner who never gives up. That was it. And I realized that was it. That was the real message. And I feel that's exactly what Master came from, what Swamiji came from, to tell each one of us, do not give up. Whether it's to try to overcome a tendency that you have in yourself, whether it's to develop something you want to develop in yourself, whether it's to learn a new instrument, whether it's in your spiritual practices, whether it's in a project that you are involved on, whether it's a relationship that we want to resolve, don't give up. Just keep trying. Especially don't give up on yourself. Master is not giving up on us. He said, I will come 1,000,000,000 times if need be. I mean, 1,000,000,000,000 times, as long as there is a straight brother. I found a straight brother. So let's just at least try in not giving up. Let's make the best of this lifetime. Let's not waste this lifetime. Because there is a lot that we can do. We have these awesome, great masters with us. So I know we are going to win this battle. So let's not give up.
That's great. Swamiji's way of teaching us was very unusual. When I first read the autobiography, and we all read Yogananda coming to Sri Yukteswar's ashram, and Sri Yukteswar very, not mincing any words, telling him exactly the things he needed to work on and making sure he did work on them. So you create this little romantic idea of one day I will find my guru and he will, he will tell me exactly what I need to work on, and he's going to watch me throughout to make sure that I'm working on it. Except then we came to Swamiji. It was nothing like that. Swami almost never commented on a shortcoming or what you needed to learn, what you needed to grow in which direction. But he did always give you a project and see how you do with a project. And so when Narayani and I got married, at first we didn't even know if, what my relationship would be, because Narayani was already Swami Kriyananda's personal assistant. Her life was completely intertwined with his. And we were very conscious that, I'm just going to be over here. I'm not going to expect in any way to be drawn into that, because your life and your priority is Swamiji. But Swami, being the gracious, man that he was, he drew me in almost immediately. And the first thing he gave me, just a few days after we were together, he said, Shurjo, I'm writing these new lessons, online lessons. I'm working on the lessons that SRF, had been giving, and I'm just refining a lot of that. But I'd like you to figure out how we can put it online and what we can do with it. And I would like it to be donation basis, and I want that to be linked to a separate account that, the spiritual director can have full autonomy over and decide what to do with it. So here you are. Now you have to figure out, okay, how do you build websites, and how do you upload these things on there? How do you create payment gateways, and how do you... So that's essentially how Swami would offer an opportunity for us to, first of all, say yes. He'd see, if my first thing would have been, well, Swami, I really don't know much about websites, or, I've never done this before. He'd immediately say, oh, don't worry, I'll ask someone else. But your opportunity is gone. So if you could just say yes, then Swami knew he could work with you. But he'd never work with you overtly. There was a time when, I don't know if you're aware, there's a movie that's now about to release. It's called The Answer. And this movie is about Swami Kriyananda's life, how he came to Yogananda, and then primarily about his time with Yogananda, all those years he spent in Mount Washington at the desert retreat, and just his time with his guru. So when Swamiji was writing this script, he had originally envisioned, because he had just seen Finding Happiness, he had just shot for Finding Happiness. He really enjoyed the actress Elizabeth Rom, who played Juliet. So when he wrote the script, he wrote thinking that Juliet will now be another character, a seeker, who would come to India seeking for a teaching, for a master, and she'd come to Swami Kriyananda. And in asking Swamiji about his life, the entire movie would play out as a flashback. Swami would tell her, this is what my life was with Yogananda, and we just see that happen. So this was the script he wrote. But after Finding Happiness, Elizabeth's career suddenly shot up. The blessing of being with Swami suddenly shifted her career path, and she started getting all these offers. Now she's, making movies with Robert De Niro and Bradley Cooper, and so naturally she didn't now have the time. So when Swami received this email from her saying, Swamiji, I'm extremely sorry, I can't come, I have a shooting schedule, I cannot come to India any longer. So that evening Swamiji was telling us about this, that Elizabeth Rom can't make it. And so he asked me, Shurjo, if I rewrite that character for a young man, would you be happy to play that role? I said, okay, Swami, I'd be very happy to, and open to, I didn't know what that would mean, but I'm very open to it. But then Swamiji said, but the character that I'm writing for is very devotional. So, I think Swami knew perhaps that wasn't my particular strength. But he just looked and says, it's very devotional. Will you be able to play such a character? So I said, well, Swami, I'm happy to try. I'd love to try. Then he said, there's a scene in the movie in which you have to be hugging the autobiography and crying. It's like, is that kind of devotion? Can you do it? I said, well, Swami, again, I said, I'm very happy to try. So he rewrote the script. Now it was a young man he just finished his university, and he was just a little lost, looking for answers to life. And so the young man's name was Gopal. And the scene was set as that in having read the autobiography, this young man, he stumbles upon a talk that Swami Kriyananda is giving, a public lecture. And when he sees him there, that's how he connects with him. So right after that, Swamiji was scheduled to give a talk in Calcutta. So we decided, we had the director, we had a producer. So they said, why not use the opportunity? You're already giving this talk. Let's just use this as part of the scene, and we'll weave this whole story into it. So great, we all flew to Calcutta, and we're all preparing for the scene. And since we were shooting in this public theater, we couldn't quite say we're shooting for a movie. Otherwise, we'd have to get the licenses, and we'd have to, be a much longer process. So we just told them we're just we're just filming the talk that our teacher is giving. So this is just for our own, personal use. So they said, okay, no problem. So because of that, we couldn't have any retakes. It was just one shot. That's all we get. If we suddenly say cut, those guys will be like, wait, what's happening? So the scene was that this young man, Gopal, would come, sit in the audience, listen to Swami Kriyananda's talk, hug the autobiography and begin to cry. This is that moment. And then right after, as Swamiji finishes his talk and Swami's leaving, this boy Gopal runs out back and he shouts out to Swamiji, Swami. And in the scene, this is the little bit of, the little drama that Swami wanted to create. Swami Kriyananda does not respond to the young man. And he just continues, gets into his car and goes on. So this allows the boy to put out a little more energy, find out where Swami is, and finally he then goes and meets Swami in his hotel. So we sat Swami down before his talk. He said, Swamiji, we have one take. So we're just going to let you know what's going to happen. I'm going to come running. This is according to your script. I'm going to come running. I'm going to shout out to you, but you don't pay any attention to me and you just keep going on. Swami was like, I get it, I know. It's okay, it's no big deal, I can do that. So here we are, Swami is giving his talk. Gopal is sitting in the audience. We've got one camera on Gopal and one camera on Swami, and Swamiji finishes his talk. Narayani, always Swami at that time needed a lot of help walking, so Narayani with him walks him out of the auditorium, and Gopal runs out back and he says, Swami! And the first thing Swami just, oh, Shurjo needs us. And he just starts walking towards us. And Narayani's like, Swami, we're not supposed to go. But somehow some Swami manages to save it, and he doesn't fully come toward me, and they walk off. But what really struck me is that no matter what, if somebody calls out to him, if somebody needed him, not for a moment, he doesn't think, oh no, I have to make sure that I don't go to him, oh this is some major movie that we are making, if I get it wrong. His heart wouldn't allow that natural kindness, as Narayani was talking about, that love that says, if one stray brother is left behind, if someone calls out to me, he couldn't intellectually, mentally block himself if he heard, Swamiji, oh, somebody needs me. And it just doesn't matter what the setting is, it doesn't matter how important it is, it doesn't matter what he needs to do or be. If the need is there, he will go. And the beauty of this whole filming and the scene was that at the end, none of it made it into the movie. The movie went in a complete different direction. The movie, because we couldn't really bring the drama of Swami as a young man in Yogananda together with the real life, so we just made it a completely dramatized film. So here you are, you've spent all this money, all this time, and it may be a little presumptuous of me, but I really feel it was just so that I could develop more devotion. So that playing that character of Gopal, holding that autobiography to my heart, getting into that bhav, there's this word in Sanskrit, the feeling. It was just, but Swami never said, you need more devotion, here is the list of things that you have to do. No, let me create this situation where the natural devotion comes out of this individual. This isn't a process where I can just tell you everything that's wrong with you and give you a checklist to say, I've done this, I did this, I chanted 6 hours and now every one of us has devotion. But we need the right circumstances for that to blossom naturally. And so Swami he'll spend whatever money was needed, he'll waste whatever time was needed, he'll create whatever project was needed, as long as one individual could be benefited. And whether that ever makes it, whether we ever use it, it's just not important. Because what's important is the individual and their opening of their heart to God. And Swami would do whatever it takes to bring that to the individual. And that's the kind of learning that he gave, except you had to be very, very alert all the time. Narayani said how exhausted she was. Her exhaustion came more out of, all just to keep up with Swami. But I would get exhausted just having lunch with him, because his energy was so high that if your energy didn't match him, you couldn't communicate. You couldn't even have a conversation with him. But the effort it took for you to be there with him was more than we're usually used to. It's like if you have to sit in meditation all the time holding how long can we hold our energy at the point between the eyebrows, even in meditation? A few minutes, boop, then it drops. So that's the kind of energy, and if you didn't, you would miss it. Because Swami would treat you as an equal. He would never say, I, Swami Kriyananda, now am going to tell you, good morning, Shurjo. I was like, hi, good morning, Shurjo, how are you doing? Just very natural. Not only natural, he treated you as a fellow disciple of his guru. Not even that much different. He'd just be like, oh, I received this email and somebody needs this thing and I was thinking about this, and he'd just look at you like, what do you think, Shurjo? He's asking for your opinion about some very high spiritual matter that I'd be like, I don't know. Whatever you think seems pretty much the right thing. But he'd never say, this is what I have thought of. This is how I think. Just very much we're all disciples of the one Guru, because he saw us all as disciples of the one Guru. He never saw himself as a teacher. And so in that, you'd forget at times. You'd forget that I was 24 years old and he was 86 years old. I just think he's just, my buddy. And when you get into that, what it allowed us is to relax in his presence, rather than being uptight. Any moment now, Swami is going to just tell me the secret of life. No, then you just relax, so that his consciousness could enter, because when we are tense, there's no openness for anything. When you're relaxed, but in that relaxation, if you just said, hi Swami, how you doing? That won't work either, because then your energy dropped and everything would just be superficial. You wouldn't get anything of what he was giving you. So it was relaxed, but so high energy all the time, because otherwise, as Narayani is saying, now it's taking her 4 years of meditating on those episodes of her time with Swami to understand what was going on, because on the surface, here's an old man who needs help. But he doesn't need any real help. If he decided he just could, heal himself, but that's what the masters don't do, so that we get an opportunity to be next to them. We get an opportunity to feel what it's like to serve the consciousness that they have. I want to end with one last very important story, especially for me. This was just, maybe 2 weeks before Swami passed. We were in Assisi in Italy. One morning, Swamiji just, when I came in the morning and greeted him, he just said, oh, Shurjo, I was thinking, I've seen that you don't wear a watch. And I found this old watch of mine in the drawer. Would you like to have it? I said, of course, Swami, I'd love to have it. So it was old and wasn't working, obviously. So Swami said, let's go after lunch into town and we'll get you batteries. And he'd love to make any excuse. Let's go into town, let's go around. So we went after lunch, we got me the batteries. And so Swami said, okay, set your time, according to my watch, his watch, so that we're always synchronized. I said, okay, sir. So he said, the time is, let's say, 3:15. So here we are. I'm sorry, like, okay, 3:15, done. The next day, Swamiji asked me, Shurjo, what's the time? I said, sir, it's 4:23. I'm just making up these times. These aren't the exact times. It's 4:23, and he says, well, mine says 4:24. Change your watch. I said, okay, changed, done. The next day, Swamiji says, Shurjo, what's the time? I said, sir, it's 5:12. And how many seconds? I said, 23, 24, 25. He says, mine says 45, 46, 47. Change your time. So here seconds aren't as easy. You have to pull it out. You wait till the seconds come in, then you click it back in. So here we are timing ourselves. Swami's like, okay, go. Oh, done. But by that time, you know that there's more to it. It's not, Swami's not being paranoid with our times being synchronized. And it took me a while to really tune into it, but it's essentially the Guru saying to you, where are you? Where's your attunement? And we say, it's close. It's 4:24, 23, no big deal, But he's like, no, I'm here. Oh, I'm just here. I mostly love you, but I still have a lot of my own stuff that I want to do. But it's close, There's more love than selfishness. There's more divine aspiration than egoic aspiration. You say, no, change that. Because every moment counts. Every moment is an opportunity of attunement, not I meditated today, I thought of you once or twice, mostly when I needed something. But where are you? What is the time? Are you comfortable being just a minute off? Are you comfortable being just a few seconds off? Or will you make the effort to listen, to watch, to change, and be in perfect attunement with me? Because anything short of perfect attunement, you're missing the point. So in our own lives, now especially that Swami is not there in the body, we can no longer kind of have an excuse of not saying he's not around anymore. Now all of us have pretty much equal access to him. Now Narayani, in the sense, has no particular special blessing that many of us think she had. Now all of us have that special blessing, because all of us now can listen, all of us now can pull that little gear out and just refine our attunement. Because now his time is clear, it's very evident for each of us. Now we can't say, I can't see his watch. Now we just have to, in our meditations, in our daily lives, say, where are you and where am I? And even if I'm just a little off, let me change that. Many blessings.
Does anyone want to ask a question of Narayani and Shurjo?
Do you still have that watch?
Oh, we wanted for Keshav and Shurjo sing that song, no?
Divine
the
Mother.
Divine Mother song.
We'll sing it tomorrow as well.
As you like.
Or both.
Both
Is it
together.
Today can be a rehearsal. Make sure we get it right.
You can explain me the song briefly.
This is a song, I don't know if you've heard it before. Have you ever performed it in
Yes,
LA?
once or twice.
Okay, great. So you might have heard it. It's called the Divine Mother song. It's the song Swamiji's, the last song Swamiji wrote. And it's to, the music is of a French opera called The Pearl Fishers. And we were just on our way, we were in India on our way to Mumbai, and Swami was just listening to this music, and he suddenly had the inspiration of these words, because the opera is a duet, this little section, and it's two men singing their, romantic love for this woman who's a priestess in a Hindu temple of all places. And both of them love her, and so there's this jealousy, and they're both trying to, win her. So Swamiji took that love and he made it for the love for the Divine Mother. So both the individuals are not competing with each other anymore, but uniting their love in the Divine Mother's love. So we'd love to sing that for you. Let's do it in C. It's originally written at a very high key. Few of us are able to match. Shall we sing it twice?
Yes, is she, the Divine Mother, she who made the universe. Yes, is she, the Divine Mother, ruler of every heart desire. Love more ancient, bliss eternal, may our hearts soon be merged in thee. Yes, is she, the Divine Mother, she who made the universe. Yes, is she.